Hey guys, welcome back to another video. So today I kind of wanted to talk about figuring out when to buy and sell and how to go about that. Now, this is a very beginner focused overview of this. It's by no means anything comprehensive. So let's get on into it. So when it comes to investing, there's really two schools of thought. You have fundamental investing and you have technical investing. Now, fundamental investing is a very financials based type of investing. This is what people like Warren Buffett do, right? Where you look at, the balance sheets of the companies. Is the company profitable? And you invest based on those metrics. Now, a technical investor is more so your charts and patterns and, your MACDs, your RSI, your moving averages, your stochastics, all those kinds of things. That's primarily what a technical investor does. Now, when it comes to day trading, the majority of day traders are going to be technical investors, right? They're going to be using, setups like you see on my screen for deciding when to buy and when to sell. Now, in this video, I'm not going to go too much into how these things work, all these lines and stuff you see. I'm just going to give you a basic overview of how you can use technical indicators in your trading. Now, for myself personally, I tend to use mainly technical indicators as well with news, right? So the majority of the trades that I do are based on the technical indicators. But say, I'm trading a company and news comes out, that they're not doing too well, or maybe, a lot of people are thinking that they're going to be missing earnings. Then I will, base my trades based on the downside, right? So if I'm trading options, I'll probably be more prone to do puts on that company based on what the technical indicators tell me to, rather than doing calls based on what the technical indicators tell me to do on that company if they have bad news. But most of the time I find the technical indicators tend to do a pretty good job. Now, when it comes to technical indicators, you never want to rely on one, right? It's like when you hear something in the news or something, you want to hear it from multiple sources and, be able to kind of confirm or deny, what it is that's going on. So same thing applies with technical indicators. I'm not just going to rely on one indicator to, help me kind of determine where the price action, right, or the movement of the stock is going to go, just based on that one technical indicator. Now, on my screen here, I have several indicators going. I have one here called the VWAP, or Bollinger Bands, and this basically gives me a range of trading prices, a range that the stock's going to trade between. So the idea is when it pops above this middle purple line, it'll trade between here. So this becomes a support, and this becomes a resistance. Now, when it drops below this purple line, this becomes the new resistance, and this yellow line becomes a support, right? But I'm not just going to rely on that. I have other indicators here. So right now, the three things that you see flashing is a study that's called the Ichimoku. Now, the Ichimoku was developed in Japan a number of years ago, and I absolutely love this study. I use it every day. I find it to be one of the more sound studies that I've come across. And then I got another one here that is a simple moving average. And it's kind of hard to see, but it's that line right there lighting up. Now let's see what else is going on here. So this is just volume. Right here we have the RSI. So this is an indicator of overbought or underbought. Now, when it approaches this top line and becomes red, it is signaling that the stock is overbought, so it's likely to have a correction back down. And then on the bottom part here, this is when it is underbought when it turns blue, which signals that it's probably going to go back up. Now, again, these are just frames of reference, right? These are not certainties. Down here we got the MACD, or the moving average convergence divergence. Sounds really confusing, but it's really not. You just have this middle line here that tends to be your average price, and these lines tend to indicate how far from that average price the stock is moving, right? So if we're up here, it's above the average. If it's down here, it's below the average deviation of the price from that middle line. So essentially what I've found, in my experience for technical indicators to be are, a combination of moving averages of some sort, right? And how you play with moving averages is you look for crossovers. And those crossovers tend to tell you to buy or to sell. So we'll go over an example right here. So I'll go ahead and show you guys an example of that, of applying that right here. So we're looking at ticker symbol SPY, and say we're right around here, right? Say it's close to 8 a.m. in the morning, and we're just watching the movement of the stock. So right here, we see that it crosses below the middle VWAP at that point. So now, this is kind of hard to see here, but now this middle VWAP line, right, this purple line, it's crossed below it. So now that is the new resistance or ceiling, right? It's going to tend to go up to it and then bounce back down, in theory. And then this yellow line right here is the new support. So it's got a channel right here, and it's going to bounce in between these two lines in theory, right? But we're not just going to rely on that. We're going to look for other things. So what we notice is that the stock has also crossed below the simple moving average. Now I use a 80-day simple moving average, and it's this, greenish bluish line right here. And you can see, right here it crossed below that. You can also see that the Kijun on the Ichimoku study has crossed over the tin can, right? That's this red line is the Kijun, the blue line is the tin can. This thing right here is what's called the Ichimoku cloud. So it's trading below the cloud, and we have red crossing above blue. Those are downward signals. Now, if we look at the RSI here, it's trending towards oversold, right? So if we just were to trade based on the RSI, it would tell us that it's probably going to go up. But, we want multiple forms of confirmation here. And, the MACD is a little below average. It's looking all right. So as we're watching this trend down, it's saying that it would be a good time to buy a put or look for downward direction. So as you can see, this then continued to sell off and trend down. Again, guys, I absolutely love the Ichimoku study. We got red above blue. That's telling us we're in a downtrend. And as you can see, it did just that, right? It just continued this downtrend. And right here, we got a crossover. So if we were just paying attention to the, Ichimoku study, it would have told us almost a crossover. Excuse me, my bad. I'm talking about right over here. So if we just were paying attention to the Ichimoku study, it would tell us to get out right here. So this is assuming we bought puts, right? Because we'll make money if the stock goes down. So when we have blue cross above red, that's signaling an uptrend now in the Ichimoku study. Now traditionally in the Ichimoku study, for a true uptrend, you want the stock trading above the Ichimoku cloud, which is this red thing right here. It turns red or yellow depending on direction. And you want blue above red. So this isn't a full, confirmation of an uptrend. We want a couple other things. So as you can see, as the stock moves along, it kind of, starts to consolidate and flatten out. But this would, that would be a point to tell us to get out because we have a crossover. Right, and so that's an example of just kind of trading crossovers. Another thing is you can see our RSI turned blue and became overbought, which was another signal that we are, kind of towards the bottom. Now this has just been, a very basic overview of how you can implement technical indicators into your trading. I'll be coming out with more stuff that goes in more depth of how these studies work and a little bit more on the specifics of them. Another thing to keep in mind when you are trading is to watch, overall movement and general direction. Now, if we look at the beginning of the day here, it tends to use that middle VWAP as a resistance throughout the day, and it's trading in that lower channel. So general direction is pointing towards down, right? But we have this pop up. Now, I wouldn't necessarily believe that the stock is going to continue to trend upwards the rest of the day from this point on, because direction is pointing downwards, because it's traded in that lower channel, and that's kind of where it wants to go, right? We don't really see anything consistent prior to this pointing for the stock to continue upwards. Now, if we look at yesterday, had a big sell-off towards the end of the day. And so going into today's trading, I knew that we were probably going to have some sort of sell-off, and so I was anticipating the direction to, in general, be down. So that is another thing to consider. So there you have it, a brief overview. Hopefully I was able to explain that, clearly to you. A brief overview here on technical indicators. Again, you never want to use or rely on just one indicator. You want multiple forms of confirmation. For me, that tends to be, about 3 indicators. If I can get 3 technical indicators to tell me up or down, I'll probably jump on it. But yeah, that's going to do it for this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If you found value out of this, please go ahead and give me a big thumbs up. It really helps, and I really appreciate you guys for taking some time out of your day to spend it with me, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. All right, take care.